Hey, what's up you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today I wanted to showcase you guys my brand new Ryzeal deck that I have been playing for the current format. Now, I'm not usually one to typically get into the whole meta game. I mean, I play this game very casually, if you guys haven't been able to notice from the decks that I play on my channel. I don't know, man. Something about meta just doesn't really click with me. It's just not my bag, baby. No, not really. No.
No, not really.
However, this deck does remind me a lot of Sprite, which is actually just my favorite deck. I have played many versions of this deck while I have been testing, including the Fiendsmith build of the deck, but however, this is not that kind of list. I really do like what the pure build does for you. I mean, being able to pair a bunch of hand traps and other kinds of form of non-engine into the deck is very nice. However, most of the time when you play this deck, all you really need is just detonator and then just a couple of hand traps to back it up. I really like the different kind of routes that you can go with this deck, and I really do feel like in the future this will be a deck that I do experiment with all of the other kinds of variants that you can play with it. But for now, we are rocking with the pure list. Now, I will explain what the deck does during the profile, but I mean, this deck has been out for a couple weeks now, so I feel like there is a possibility that you guys have already seen what this deck can do. I mean, obviously it won the YCS in Anaheim, which I didn't really get enough time to test this deck. Otherwise, I probably would have played this for the YCS if I had more testing with it. But before we do get into the deck profile, I want to ask you guys to please like and subscribe for more content, because if you like and subscribe, it lets me know that I am doing something right. But yes, let's start off with the main honcho himself. I really feel like this card is probably the best card in the deck other than Ice. 3 copies of Ryzeal. You have to play 3 of it. It's going to be a ongoing thing that you see in most Ryzeal lists that you see. This card reads that you can special summon this card from your hand by sending 1 Xyz monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, and if it is summoned this way, you are locked into special summoning rank 4 Xyz monsters for the rest of the turn. Its effect when it is normal or special summon: if you control no other face-up monsters on the field except for level or rank 4 monsters, you can add a fire thunder monster from your deck to your hand. So since most of your deck is level 4 monsters or rank 4 monsters, depending on what your situation is, odds are you're going to be getting this effect every single time. There has been instances when you have Donner on the field and it gets negated or whatever it is, but other than that, I mean, you should be able to resolve these cards every time that it hits the field, so this card is very strong. And then we play the 3 copies of Ice Riz. I mean, honestly, again, like I said, you have to play 3 of these cards. These cards are really good, and they're also not fully let out yet, but this is just what we have so far. This card lets you special summon itself from the hand by sending 1 card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then it has the same restriction that if you use that effect, then you are locked into level 4 and rank 4 Xyz monsters for the turn. Of course, if you use this card's effect, it has the same restriction as the Ryzeal has, to where you are locked into rank 4 monsters from the extra deck this turn. And then if it is normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 Ryzeal monster from your deck except for Ice Ryzeal. So being able to get the X-Riz or getting the Sword Riz from the deck is very strong, but most of the time you are probably going to be getting the copy of Node Ryzeal, which is going to help you make it to where you end on your detonator and your duo drive and possibly whatever else, depending on what the situation at hand is. But again, you do have to max out on 3 of them. And then we play the 3 copies of Sword Ryzeal. You do have to play 3, like I said, very limited on how many cards you have in the deck, but you do play 3 Sword Riz. Basically, this is the one that you get off of your X Ryzeal. And then this one's other special summoning effect is that if you have a Riz monster or a monster in your field or your graveyard, you can special them from the hand. And if it's summoned, again, you have the same restriction to where you are locked into rank 4 Xyz monsters for the turn. And then if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a light pyro monster from your deck to your hand. So basically, this is the opposite of X Ryzeal, to where you are adding the light pyro instead of getting the fire thunder. So basically, this one is essentially just as good as X, just the special summoning restriction is just a little bit worse, but we do have to play 3. We only play 1 copy of Node Ryzeal. You don't really need more copies of this because this card is essentially just an extender. This one special summons itself by having a Xyz monster on your field or inside of your graveyard, and again, this also locks you into the rank 4 Xyz monsters. Its other effect is that you can send 1 card from your hand or field to the graveyard and target a Riz monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position, but its effects are negated, so it's just really nice to have an extra body on the field, especially when you are going into a card that we play in the extra deck for a little bit later, but you only need 1 of these. Rounding off the Riz package, we play the 1 copy of Cross and the 1 copy of Plug-in. I don't really think you need the Plasma Hole, at least not in the main deck. If you wanted to play Rafflesia, I would say go ahead and play the Plasma Hole as well as a Grave Digger's Trap Hole, but I'm not playing either of those cards, so feel free to experiment how you want to. Now, I play one cross, even though I am playing 3 desires when we get to it. I do feel like you have such an easy way of getting this card out of the deck, and then worst comes to worst, if you don't have this card, it's not the end of the world, but at the same time, it just is what it is. It's just Yu-Gi-Oh at that point. But the Ryzeal Cross is such a busted field spell. Its restriction to where you cannot exceed summon monsters with the same name as a card you control is very easy to play around. Its other effect is that if you have 2 Riz cards in your graveyard except for Cross, you can place them at the bottom of the deck and then draw a card. So it's also Ryzeal cards, so if you already use the plugin, you can also put this card back at the bottom of the deck and draw. So it's basically one of the reasons why you only need one, because you can just recycle it off of the field spell, so it's very strong for that. And then its most busted effect is that when a monster effect is activated and it has already resolved, you can detach a material from a Riz XZ monster you control and negate it. So your opponent nibs, you let it resolve, and then once it's about to resolve, you just detach from, say, like Detonator or Duo Drive, whatever it is, and then the nib just stays in their hand. So very strong there. But that's it for the Riz cards. Like I said, you can go ahead and play the Plasma Hole if you want to, but I'm not, so I'm only playing the 12 Riz cards in the deck. And then to coincide with the small Riz lineup we play, we just wanted to max out on consistency for the deck, so we played 3 copies of Bonfire and then 3 copies of Pot of Desires. I know a lot of people cut this card from like 2 or from 3 to 2, but I mean, you might as well play 3 since everything is basically 3 ofs in the deck. I have seen lists play Prosperity. I'm personally not a fan of that list, mainly for the sole purpose that if you're playing Prosperity and you have all these cards that you need to help to basically get there, essentially drawing like Desires, or you're drawing off of the field spell, whatever it is, you don't want to be locked with that card because it's just essentially a dead card in your hand, and then that card could be like a hand trap or it could be a extender, whatever it is. So I don't really want to see myself in that situation, so I just opted to not play the Prosperity at all and then just go for the 3 Desires. And worst comes to worst, when you're going second, you can always cut 1 to 2 copies of this card out from the deck as well. But that's it for the consistency lineup. And like I said, since we're playing the Riz deck, you get to play a bunch of hand traps. So we are on 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence to start us off, and then we play 3 copies of Effect Veiler, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre, 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird, 2 copies of Nibiru, and then rounding it off is just the 2 little squids. Hear me out, moving forward, I am probably not going to be having these cards in my deck profiles anymore, at least not until the upcoming YCS Vegas that I'm not sure if I'm going to just yet. Bear with me, I will have an update on that hopefully by the beginning of next year. But honestly, no cards are safe from Konami right now, because if by the time this video is going up, the odds are you guys have already found out about Rarity Stampede, and they are already reprinting Fuwalos. I literally just bought this card. Like, I want to say, like, how long has it been? Like a month or 2 ago? And they're already reprinting it. So yes, I'm going to be getting rid of my Fuwalos and my Perulias because I am scared. Not that it matters though, but essentially you want to be like maxing out on as many good hand traps as possible. The only reason I play like 2 of these ones is because they are the cards that are like kind of detrimental to you. Droll really hurts this deck. Ghost Ogre really hurts because if they Ghost Ogre the Duo Drive, it doesn't detach for cost. So if they Ogre it and you don't have anything to detach, then of course you can't get the search. It's basically how Ogre works against Gigantic Sprite, which is again something that I'm used to. And then Nibiru is just there just in case your board gets blown up, but your opponent like builds a bigger board to try and beat you, and then you just nib them and then it all goes away. And then of course we want to be playing 3 of the most generic hand traps because they are just the best cards in the game right now. And then we play 1 Fuwalos and 1 Perulia because we are playing cross out, spoiler alert. But again, like I said, probably going to take these out moving forward just because of reprint season, because no one is safe from Rarity Collection. And then rounding off the main deck, of course we play 3 copies of Crossout Designator. Cards busted. I mean, you are stuck in a hand trap format right now, so you do have to be playing this card. I feel like if you're not playing this card, odds are you're probably going to have a bad time playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now. And then I play 1 copy of Talents, and then I play 1 copy of Called by the Grave. This is essentially similar to the 3rd place YCS Anaheim list. I don't remember his name, I'm so sorry, but I was watching your matches all weekend. This is essentially his list. I think I only changed like 1 or 2 cards from the list total, but This is just what I've been liking so far, and honestly, the deck's been working like a gem. I think when I do eventually get rid of the mulches, I'm gonna be bumping up talents to maybe 2, maybe 3 copies of, just depending on how much I like it, or they're gonna be replaced for 2 other hand traps. But it's just preference right now, so we're gonna see how this goes. But that's gonna round off the main deck. Like I said, we are on 40 cards, no more, no less. I know I was playing more in my mermail list. Like a couple weeks ago when I posted it, whatever it is by the time this video goes live. But I'm glad to be back at 40. I was basically over 40. I was at 42 also with this list because I was playing 3 Perulia, 1 Fualas, which I have seen people play. But I opted not to do that because I think 40 is just very good when you have a very small, like, very small main engine and then just a bunch of non-engine. So you definitely want to be seeing your cards that actually let you play the game. So if you are playing 42, odds are you're not going to see a lot of them. So it really just depends, but that's it for the main deck, 40 cards. And then I'm not going to show you guys the side deck this time because this is just what I have been playing. I haven't taken it to locals just yet, but I will be taking it to locals this upcoming week, basically before Christmas Eve because my locals are on Tuesdays. But we're going to see how the deck works this week. And if you guys are watching that go to my locals, subscribe. But starting off the extra deck, of course, we play the 2 copies of Duo Drive, and then we are on the 2 copies of Detonator. When this card is summoned and you have a Ryzeal monster in your graveyard, you can actually go ahead and take one of those monsters and attach it to this as material. And then, like I said earlier, it has the effect to where you can detach 2 materials from a monster or monsters you control. And if you do, you get to add 2 Ryzeal cards with different names from the deck to the hand. So it's really good because you can go ahead and add plugin, you can add cross, you can add any of the other Riz monsters. If you want to play Plasma Hole, you can search that too. But basically, being able to search any Riz card in your deck is very strong, so we play 2 of those. And then everyone's new favorite boss monster is Ryzeal Detonator. When your opponent activates a card effect while this card is face up on the field, you can detach a material from this card and then target 1 card on the field and destroy it. And then if this card is special summoned, you can attach 1 monster from the graveyard to this card as material. And also, if an Xyz monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach 1 material from the card instead. So the best thing about this is that you get to attach any card from their graveyard. So basically, when you use your X Ryzeal to summon itself, most of the time you're going to be dumping Mereologic Aggregator, so you're going to be equipping one of those to the Detonator as material. And then when you detach the material off of the Detonator, not only are you going to be getting rid of a card on the field, but then you're also going to be negating another face-up card on the field with Aggregator. But you only need 2 and 2 because, like I said, you can recycle these across, and the cards are very busted. Also, did you know this guy has 3,000 attack? Next, we play for the rest of the extra deck, we play the 1 Baguska because there are situations where you will get hit by Shifter and you don't want to have that happen to you, but it does happen a lot. So we play 1 Baguska just in case you do get shifted. I have been really enjoying Castel. I think this card is really cool. I also like the idea that you can play Harpy's Featherstorm in the side deck if you end your board on this card, but also just being able to put cards back into the extra deck that would trigger if they were to hit the graveyard instead. So like Melodious monsters, branded monsters, whatever it is, being able to shuffle it back with Castel is actually very strong. And then we play 1 copy of Exciton Knight. This card is also very strong right now. I do feel like this card is essentially like possibly ban worthy again in the near future, but the card is still very good for what it does. And then a new card that hasn't really seen much play is the Full Armored Utopic Ray Lancer. This card is actually really strong. You can also Xyz summon this card by pitching a spell or trap in your hand and putting it on top of a rank 4 monster you already control. And then while it's on the field, your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack, and then at the start of the battle phase, you can negate the effects of all attack position monsters your opponent controls, and if it destroys a opponent's monster by battle, you can detach a material from the card and it can attack again. So the card is very nice, being able to just put this on top of like dead Xyz monsters and just instantly have material on it again. But it also is a 2500 beater, which is again nothing to sneeze at. And then we play 1 copy of Abyss Dweller. There are still going to be graveyard decks. It is what it is. That's just how Yu-Gi-Oh works. There's always going to be some graveyard shenanigans happening somewhere, so you do have to play Dweller, and especially since it is a rank 4 deck, it's like, why wouldn't you? And then we play the 1 copy of Dugaris to round off the rank 4s. Basically, this card can give you an attack boost. It can help you summon cards from the graveyard, and then it can also draw you 2 cards deeper. So again, another reason why you don't want to play Prosperity, because sometimes you just need to draw a couple cards. So I do feel like that is very important to play. And then we play 1 copy of Zeus and we play 1 copy of Typhon. These cards are just like safety net cards. Essentially, you want to be making a Zeus whenever you need to clear boards, and then Typhon is just there in case you draw too many hand traps and your opponent just summon a bunch of shit. So these cards reward you for basically nothing, so you might as well play them. And then we play 2 copies of Aggregator. I was opting to want to play 1 copy of Aggregator, but during the testing I found that the second one does come up a lot, so you might as well play 2. And then rounding off the extra deck, we play the 1 copy of Donner Dagger for Hire, because basically how this one works is that you can just use it to get rid of another card on the field, and then you can just keep extending with your Riz cards to gain their additional effects when they're summoned. But yeah guys, that is going to go ahead and do it for the deck profile. I hope this video was nice and helpful for you. Again, it's just a deck that I have been trying, but so far I have been liking it a lot. So if you guys got Riz, why don't you let me know what I can do to further the deck. Like I said, it is basically the third place list, but I did change some cards, and I don't have a side deck for it yet because I haven't taken it to locals just yet, but I have been really enjoying this list so far. But other than that guys, please let me know what you want to see in the near future, and until next time, this has been Papa, and I will catch you all in my next video.